Maxime Flament from the 5GAA, the 5G Automotive Association, to discuss their newest report targeted at maximizing the benefits of automotive satellite connectivity. This technical report delves into a variety of key areas that are going to transform the industry, and this is an ideal opportunity for Maxime to let us know what we're, as an industry, both the satellite and the automotive industry, what we're about to launch ourselves into. So without further ado, Maxime, welcome to Game Changers, and please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and the 5GAA.
Thank you very much, Roger. I'm very pleased to be here with you. We know each other for a long time, and so now in your new capacity as president of MSUA, I should say, I'm very, very excited indeed to bring this new report. It's a technical report, and we did that within the 5G Automotive Association, for which I'm the Chief Technology Officer. The scope of the 5G Automotive Association is much larger than just satellite communication, but over the last 2 years, the members representing global industry from telco and from automotive brought their needs together, and then they expressed what should be the ideal way satellite communication eventually gets into the cars and complements the terrestrial network connectivity.
Well, to me, historically, the significance of the 5GAA was for the first time automakers and wireless carriers and even semiconductor companies and tier ones were sitting together to work out the challenges and issues that need to be overcome to connect cars. And I dare say there are many unsolved problems in car connectivity today, but now we have satellite connectivity that we need to contend with. Just off the top, do you have any satellite members in the association yet?
We do have a few satellite communication members, and we are contemplating also others joining.
Can you name names?
Well, I can say that recently Viasat just joined, and it was announced a couple of weeks ago. We are very excited to have them also bring their perspective to the potential use of the satellite communication. They are a very important player, a global player, and so we really welcome them in the association.
Anybody else?
Additionally, well, we have a Berlin meeting coming up soon, and Intelsat will be an observer to the meeting. Being observer means that they have expressed their interest to become a member and join the association, but they of course want to see what they can expect first.
Now my impression of this report is I'm confident it's not the first white paper from 5GAA, but this one I think is I don't think I'm exaggerating to say it's monumental in terms of the detail that it's getting into on several core topics. So perhaps you could list those core topics. I mean, my understanding is it's antenna configurations, spectrum considerations, bandwidth, but please tell us what's in that report that which every automaker should be reading right now.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is to provide a technical point of view from an earlier white paper that we position that we wrote. I think it was published about 12 months ago. So in the earlier report, we asked for a few things. First, the integration of NTN and within the terrestrial network, making sure that handovers are seamless between one and the other. The second thing is the adoption of the 3GPP standards, and so making sure that standards that are run on the satellite communication are similar to ones that are run on the 3G on the terrestrial network, and that means 3GPP standards. In a nutshell, that's it. Now, the technical report that was just published is giving some requirements and in terms of antenna size, in terms of transmit power, in terms of data rate or bandwidth requirements, and then the frequency range. And we differentiate between different use cases. The different use cases are actually not so much different than what we have for the terrestrial network, but the great the feature or the let's say the killing feature that the non-terrestrial network is providing is twofold. Is one providing this additional coverage on the go where the terrestrial network fails to provide proper coverage. So that's one, and then the second thing is resilience in terms of the connectivity, making sure that if at a given time the terrestrial network fails, you can fall back on the non-terrestrial network.
Well, we've had a perfect illustration of the importance of both of those issues with Hurricane Helene here in the U.S., knocking out cellular service across a wide geographic area. So yes, even under the best of circumstances, satellite connectivity brings ubiquitous coverage, but also, as you say, the resilience. Now, why is it that a casual observer might say, well, gee, the wireless carriers are making it look very easy to add satellite connectivity for SOS calls on mobile phones? Why is it so hard to offer the same thing in a car?
Hey, well, first you need to make. I think that's the question of communities. The different communities have different expectations, and the vehicle manufacturers over the years have not really considered satellite networks as a real opportunity to solve some of their problems that I just mentioned.
I'm going to contradict you very quickly and briefly. The original connected car was a sat cell connectivity platform developed by Volvo with Orbcomm, and unfortunately, Orbcomm filed for Chapter 11, which undermined that very innovative program. But I would argue the satellite has been in the conversation before.
They have, but where we are now is a complete different mindset. It's an adoption of the 3GPP standards. It's making sure that this is integrated with the terrestrial network. It's not seen as a competition. It's rather a complementary use of the satellite network. Is basically the idea of putting base stations in the sky and covering as much possible land as possible and bringing it as a safety net for the connectivity of the cars.
Now, there's also obviously an issue of product lifecycle management in the automotive industry. Cars are on the road for 10 to 15 years. And so there is certainly satellite connectivity available now that is, I think, called NB-NTN, which is sort of pre-new radio connectivity. The average automaker probably is going to want to wait for the NR-NTN technology. But there is a more fundamental question, which is, what are the applications? And there's a very interesting chart in the report that breaks down the timeline that evolves from narrowband to wideband. So can you comment on that evolutionary process and what the early stage applications will be, and then how they'll evolve?
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of background on this chart, the way we designed it is that we cross-checked the different releases at the standard level, and with the different constellations that we can on which the vehicle manufacturers could already invest, and indeed on the phase one, which is predicted to start 2027. So that's basically tomorrow in automotive years, and even next. It's even sooner for the satellite communication. So these narrowband services are using constellations that, if they don't exist, they are being launched today. So, and we are talking about, as I said, narrowband. First, and very important is the possibility to do emergency calls. On top of this, making sure that traffic management can be handled in disaster situations, conveying with very low bit rate any kind of hazards or traffic information from the cars to the network via the mobile, via the non-terrestrial network. And then further, some use cases related to fleet monitoring and some remote access, for example, to, like the basic telematics can do, open the door or check the status of your car. These kind of use cases exist already and then are supported by the mobile networks around the world, but there are stories that show that sometimes it does not go very well if you are out of mobile network connectivity, and that's what we want to feel in terms of concerns of the customers.
So what can you say about the sort of day one bit rate that we can expect, as you say, in 2027, and how rapidly will that evolve to more of a wideband proposition?
Yeah. So if we take the narrowband and wideband data use cases, up to 2029, so that's including the phase two, we believe that we can do that on less than 10 megabit per second per car, and that would then lead to then additional use case compared to what I said. It can be teleoperation driving support. So it's not completely teleoperation, but it's just monitoring the cars that are, as you may know, some countries are requiring that you have some connectivity for level 4 automation, and that could support this kind of aspects.
When you say that, I'm thinking it's more sending specific guidance instructions as opposed to live driving remotely.
Yes, definitely. We are not talking about direct teleoperation. We are talking about indirect teleoperation. That means you provide indeed commands or directions to the vehicle, and the vehicle has to execute it by itself.
And the report also addresses spectrum issues, which usually is where most of the controversy arises in the industry. And I think we are guaranteed to have conflicts there. And in some cases, it's opinions. In some cases, it's literally battles that will need to be resolved by regulators. What can you say about the spectrum portion of the report?
Yeah, so for the narrowband and the wideband services, we are looking at what we call in 3GPP FR2s, that's big, up to 6 gigahertz. And indeed, when we are looking at the direct-to-device frequency bands that we see appearing, they are exploring 3GPP frequency bands that are usually owned by the mobile network operators, and therefore you need to then a partner as a satellite communication operator with a mobile network operator, and that creates opportunities but also challenges, because at the end you're not your each satellite operator may have to lock in, if I can say that, with a specific mobile network operator in a specific country. And it does not create the grounds for a real competition across the different non-terrestrial, or let's say SATCOM operators. So that may create in the medium term some challenges in terms of competition, but at the moment that's what happens, is that frequency bands are used, are owned, or let's say licensed to the mobile network operators, and then eventually exploited by the SATCOM.
So that's a very important point. We're coming to the end of our discussion here. We're going to have a follow-up conversation, Maxime, as I suggested, maybe a little bit longer. But to your final point there, what is your perception, or what is your view? Will satellite operators need to develop direct relationships with automakers?
So as I explained, at this stage, I think that what's happening is that the partnering is done between mobile network operators at the geographic level, at a specific geographic level, and SATCOM operators, and then this then is brought to the vehicle manufacturers as one service offering connectivity. Now we can see that there are some constellations that are being planned, specifically looking at connecting and specifically connecting or being launched, let's say, by specific vehicle manufacturers. I think that economies of scale is going to be a challenge, and at the end, when SATCOM operators send their constellations, they want to address the broadest possible customer base, where we are, if we restrict it to just the vehicles, is going to be a little bit of a shortcoming.
So is there any basis for satellite operators to interact directly with automakers?
I'm sure they are talking to each other.
Because you're going to have in Berlin. When is the Berlin event? Is that in November?
Berlin event is in November. We are not going to specifically talk about the NTN. We believe that next year there is more space when things are crystallizing to promote the results of what we have done with this technical.
But won't you have a demonstration car in Berlin?
Not that I know. There will certainly be discussions on NTN, and we are doing that within 5G Automotive Association, and we are continuing the discussion. But in Berlin, we will not have a specific demonstration. No, that's not.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a change. Was that a change of plans? I thought there was something being discussed.
It's just a prioritizing of the different topics. As you know, and as I said at the very beginning, 5G is very broad in scope. We are covering direct communication, including the 5G V2X that is defined in release 16, 17, 18. And we are also covering the mobile network connectivity with the edge computing. And there we have, to be coherent in our message, we have been focusing on these two, especially with regards to protection of vulnerable road users.
Okay, perfect. Well,
but
thank you very much.
You should certainly, MSUA should expect more noise to come in the next year in terms of the use of NTN in the vehicles.
Oh, I think that is absolutely true. And as I suggested, I think we're going to have a follow-up and maybe a longer conversation about this, maybe with some members of the MSUA to join us. So I want to thank the Mobile Satellite Users Association for hosting these sessions. You can learn more about the MSUA at msua.org. You can learn more about the 5GAA at 5GAA.org. And you can learn how to get our weekly newsletter at msua.org that gives you updates on everything that's happening in the industry and shares information about upcoming events. And you can also find out how to become a member. We look forward to seeing you next time on MSUA's Game Changers webcast. Thank you, Maxime. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.